It's 2 in the morning in the middle of January. The wind has been beating on the house for hours, and then you notice what's missing. The furnace has gone quiet. The refrigerator isn't humming. You reach for the lamp and click it, and nothing happens. Outside, snow is pouring sideways, past a dead streetlight. And every source of heat in that house, the furnace, the stove, the water heater, has just turned into cold metal. By sunrise, the kitchen is 59 degrees. By the second night, it's 41. And the voice on the battery radio is saying 3 more days. A modern house is built on one promise, that the power never quits. But for thousands of winters on this continent, people lived through cold like this with no furnace and no wall to plug into, in shelters made of hide, bark, and grass. And they didn't just barely survive, they stayed warm. So today I'll walk you through 5 of the things they knew. 5 tricks you can use tonight with what's already in your house. Stay with me to number 5, because number 5 sounds completely backwards. It's about the one thing you deliberately leave open when every instinct is screaming to seal the house up tight. Get it wrong, and the other 4 can quietly turn against you. One thing first, because almost nobody says it. Native American isn't one culture. It's hundreds of distinct nations, each with its own answers shaped by its own land. These tricks come from specific peoples, many from the Plains nations who wintered on open, wind-scoured prairie. Here's the countdown. Number 1. Long before radar, the storm was red before it hit. Because a storm always announces itself. A ring around the moon at night. That milky halo is ice crystals riding high ahead of a front. Smoke that sinks and crawls along the ground instead of rising, a sign the pressure is falling. Birds stripping a feeder bare and then vanishing. The woods going silent. The wind swinging around and settling in from a new direction. When those signs stacked up, the response was never to sit and hope. It was a burst of hard, fast work, while the working was still easy. Here's that same burst in a modern house. Fill the bathtub to the brim. If your water comes from a well, that pump dies with the power. Even city pipes lost pressure in the Texas freeze. That tub gives you days of water to flush toilets and fill the kettle. Cook the biggest pot of food in the house while the stove still works, something that reheats well. Run the laundry so every warm layer is clean and dry. Gather your flashlights, candles, and matches into one spot. And find your main water shutoff before you need it, because a burst pipe at midnight is a terrible time to go hunting for it. The old way was to believe the warning and spend it working. But no pot of stew saves you if the house pours all its heat into the sky overnight, which is exactly what Trick 2 was built to solve. Number 2. A Plains teepee in winter was small, and that was on purpose. You don't heat the whole prairie. You heat the small circle where the people are. In a blackout, your entire house is the prairie. So give most of it up. Pick one small room, on the south side if you can, with the fewest windows. Move the whole family in, bedding and all. Close every other door. Hang a heavy blanket over the doorway so it reaches the floor. At night, hang quilts over the windows. If the sun comes out, open the south curtain and let it work a shift. Then cover it again at dusk. Now the deeper part. Inside a winter teepee, Plains peoples hung a second wall, an inner liner called an ozon, suspended a few inches inside the outer cover. The trapped, still air between those layers was the real insulation, the same principle as a double-pane window. You can build that tonight. Take your coldest wall and hang a quilt flat against it, a couple of inches off the surface. That pocket of dead air becomes a second wall, exactly like the liner in the lodge. And remember, every person in that room is a small stove. A grown adult gives off about 100 watts of heat, day and night, just for being alive. 4 people and a dog in one small room will lift it several degrees with no fire at all. But a warm room won't save you if the floor is pulling heat out of your body all night. And that's exactly what floors do. Number 3. No winter camp on this continent slept flat on the frozen ground. The bed came first, and it was thick. Evergreen boughs laid a hand deep, then hides and robes on top. Air steals your heat slowly. The ground steals it by touch, straight through whatever you're lying on all night long. The cold you fight in bed comes up from underneath far more than it comes down from above. So flip the way you think about blankets. Padding underneath you is worth double the covers on top. Drag a mattress into the warm room or lay down couch cushions, but never lie directly on the floor. Then follow the old ratio. For every blanket over you, put 2 layers underneath. 2 below, 1 above. Share the pile. 2 people under 1 heap of blankets sleep far warmer than 2 under separate ones. And the little ones go in the middle where the warmth gathers, and cover your head. A bare head bleeds a steady river of warmth all night, which is why a fur cap was standard winter wear in every nation that saw snow. How you dress in that bed matters too, and the old rule runs against instinct. Dress loose, not tight. Still air is what keeps a body warm, and clothing is just a trap for holding that air against your skin. Tight clothes squeeze the air out. So layer loose and choose wool over cotton. Wool keeps most of its warmth even damp, while cotton soaked with sweat turns into a cold, wet rag against your body. And if you head out to haul wood, strip a layer before you start, not after. Sweat is melted heat. If you're sweating in January, you're doing it wrong. Blankets can only hold the heat your body makes. Trick 4 is about making heat. Number 4. Across this whole continent, people heated stones in the fire, wrapped them in hide, and tucked them into the sleeping robes. Air lets go of its heat in minutes. Dense stone drinks it in slowly and pays it back for 6 or 8 hours. A dry stone the size of a loaf of bread can keep a bed warm until sunrise. Here's tonight's version. Find a dense, dry stone, or better yet, a common brick or a cast iron skillet. Warm it slowly beside the fireplace or on a low burner, turning it now and then. You want it hot to the touch, nowhere near scorching. Wrap it in a thick towel, then again in a second towel or a wool shirt. Slide it under the covers at the foot of the bed about 20 minutes before you climb in. Now the warning, and I want your full attention. Never use a stone from a creek, a riverbed, or wet ground. A damp stone holds water deep inside. Heat turns that water to steam, and steam can split a rock like a rifle shot. Dry stone only, or skip the risk and use the brick or the cast iron pan. And notice, everything from here on involves fire and heat inside a closed-up house. Hold that thought, because the moment any flame starts making heat indoors, trick 5 becomes the most important thing in this video. Number 5. The one I said sounds backwards. Picture one of the coldest places a person can sleep. A teepee on the northern plains in January, 20 below outside, a small fire in the center, people warm in buffalo robes. Now look up. At the top of that lodge is a hole, open to the winter sky, with 2 flaps worked like a chimney. Why would the warmest shelter on the plains have a hole cut in the roof? Here's the answer. Warm air rises, and it never rises empty-handed. It carries the smoke. It carries the fumes every flame gives off. And it carries water, because every breath you exhale all night is loaded with moisture. A family breathes cups and cups of water into a closed room before sunrise. The cooking pot and the flames add more. Seal the house up tight, and all that water has nowhere to go. It settles into the blankets, the coats, the mattress, and the warmth in wool lives in the dry, still air trapped inside the weave. Once your breath has loaded that cloth with water, it goes flat, heavy, and cold. That's why a person can wake at 3 in the morning colder than when they lay down under the same pile of blankets and never understand what changed. What changed was the air. Now the harder half. Every flame burns up the good air in a room and gives off a gas you cannot see, smell, or taste, carbon monoxide. In a sealed room, it can put people to sleep so gently they never wake up. Storm after storm, that's the story in the newspapers afterward. And it never has to be. So here is the old law of the Winter Lodge. A fire must breathe, and the lodge must breathe with it. The hole in the roof isn't a leak. It's the lungs of the shelter. Fresh air feeds in low. The warm air hauls the smoke and the damp and the bad gas out the top, and the bedding stays dry. And dry is warm. Tonight's translation. If anything is burning, a fireplace, a wood stove, a candle, a camp stove, crack a window in that room about 2 fingers wide. Keep the fireplace damper open anytime coals are alive. Never bring charcoal indoors. Not the house, not the garage, not for 5 minutes. Air your bedding out each day. And spend $15 on a battery-powered carbon monoxide alarm. Battery, not the plug-in kind, because the plug-in kind died with the lights. Cold was never the great killer in the winter lodges. Trapped, wet, dead air was, and they built the cure right into the roof. So here's your plan. 5 deep, and every piece works with the power out. Read the storm and prep before it lands. Shrink your world to 1 room and build a wall of dead air. Beat the cold from below. Heat a dry stone and carry that warmth to bed. And keep your shelter breathing so your blankets stay dry and the air stays safe. None of it needs a battery. None of it needs a generator you fight with at 10 below. It's knowledge. Keep the heat you have. Make the little heat you can, and never let the cold push you into a careless mistake. So the next time the furnace goes quiet at 2 in the morning, you won't lie there waiting on the power company. You'll get up and go to work on a plan older than the grid itself. If you learned something, subscribe. The next video is about a tree standing in half the backyards in America, whose bark was brewed for aching heads and joints long before the drug companies turned it into the best-selling pill of the 20th century. I'll see you there. Stay warm.